once you have your slip knot in place, usually if you're going to be working back and forth as in a scarf or a blanket or something flat, if you're going back and forth in rows, the first thing you normally do is you start with chains and then you do your foundation row. A foundation row is simply the very first row of stitches. For example, a row of all single crochet. So in this video I'm going to show you how to do your chains and how to do a single crochet. Alright, so we've already done our slip knot and we're ready to go. What we're going to do for a chain is you're simply going to put the hook underneath the yarn and wrap it around this way. This is called a yarn over, and I'm moving my hook in such a way that it grabs the yarn and it's going to allow me to pull it through this loop that was already on my hook. And so there I have my first chain. I'm going to do that same motion again, pull it through the hole. Now I have 2 chains. Do it again. I'm going to yarn over, pull through the loop. Now I have 3 chains. So you'll see that they look like little V's. This is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one. The one that is currently on my hook, the loop that's on my hook now, doesn't count as a chain, but when I yarn over and pull through, that becomes the next V. So it's basically the loop is wrapped around the next yarn, and so that's how you get the look. So we're gonna just do a few of these, maybe about 8 to 10 should be fine for practice. And if you get to the end, let's see if I do some that are not quite the same, like if I make some really big ones and some really tight ones and they don't look consistent. The great thing about crochet is if you don't like it, you could just pull it out. Okay? So don't worry if you make a mistake, you could always fix it. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains. I'm going to do 5 more. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? And so when we go to do our single crochets, before we start that, I just want you to take a look at how the chains appear. So I already talked about how these look like V's. If I flip it over, you'll notice down the center there are bumps. So some people like to go into the bumps whenever they go to do their stitches. That is more challenging. So if this is your first time crocheting, it'll probably be easier to go into the loops. Okay, so that's what I'm going to show you now. I have 10 on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to add one more for height. So if I want 10 single crochets, I have to do 11 chains. And that's just because when I bring it out and turn, we're going to basically go into each of these chains and make our single crochet stitch. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. But that last one needs to be for height. Alright, so this is the first one from on my hook. This one is the second one from my hook. When you're doing a single crochet, you're going to go into that loop on the second one. And so what we're basically doing is you see the V, you're going to go in that top loop right there. Okay, so once you have your hook underneath that, yarn over, pull through, and you'll notice that you now have 2 loops on your hook. Do not pull all the way through. If you pull all the way through, that's called a slip stitch. We're trying to do right now a single crochet. So you're going to keep the 2 on your hook, yarn over again, pull through both of those loops. And so there we have our first single crochet. Alright, and so now if I'm looking at this again, this right here is my next chain. So I'm going to be putting my hook right up underneath that loop, yarn over, pull through, and I have the 2 loops on my hook, yarn over again and pull through both of those loops at the same time, and now I have 2 single crochets. Okay, this one is my third chain right here. So I'm going to put my hook underneath that, yarn over, pull through, same thing, have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both of those loops. And I'm basically going to do that all the way across. You can go ahead and do that now. Okay. So I had 11 chains. One was for height. I started single crocheting into the second chain from the hook. So I should have 10 single crochets made right now because I've gone through all of the chains. If I turn my work this way, I can see that on the top there are now little V's on the top, and so each one of those is a stitch. You can, if we were doing taller stitches, you could probably also count the posts. So a little bit more difficult with single crochet to count the posts because they're so short, but with double crochet and other stitch types we can do that pretty easily. So I just turn it this way, and here is my first one, so that's 1. This one is my second one, so that's 2. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so I did every stitch correctly. I have 10. That's what I should have. Alright, so now what do you do once you get to the end of the row? We're going to chain 1. So a chain is just simply yarning over and pulling through. Why do we do that? That adds height. So just like we did that chain on the bottom, we did 11 chains for 10 single crochets. We have to add height here, so we did the chain 1. And you may have noticed that right-handed people work from right to left, left-handed people work from left to right. And so now that we're at the end, unless you're ambidextrous and can switch, you're going to basically flip the work over. Okay? And then we're going to start again. So just to show you that again, I'm at the end of the row here. And I'm just going to flip it over. Okay? So now, get this yarn out of the way. Now I'm back to how I started before, except the only difference here now is I actually have my foundation row is already done, so I have a full row of single crochet. It gets easier from here. The chains in the foundation row are the second hardest thing. As I mentioned earlier today, when you've never done it before, finding a way to hold the yarn in your hand and finding a comfortable way to hold the hook, those are the hardest things. Once you have that down, the foundation row is the hardest, and then after that it's pretty easy. So I'll go ahead and show you the next thing. I've already done my chain, and this is what it looks like again. So when we're doing our second row, unlike the chain, so when we did the chain we only went under one loop, and that's only because it was easier. You could go under both loops, it's just a little bit harder to get your hook through. But once you get to this level, you want to put your hook under both loops. Okay, so if I look at it from the side, the hook will essentially be going right here, and then the next one will be going right here and right here. And that's what it looks like from the side. So there's like a little loop right there. If I turn it, if I face it up this way, and I'm showing you where that hole is, it's basically going under that loop. Okay, so that V looking type of texture, and that's where the hook goes. Alright, I need to first get it back in here. I'm going to keep the loop on your hook, and now I'm just going to insert the hook under that first stitch, that first single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop. So this should look familiar. I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2. So that was the first single crochet on my second row. Alright, the next stitch is this V right here, and I insert my hook under both of those loops, yarn over, pull through. I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through. So if you notice those 2 loops that I have, the one that's on the right, that becomes the top of the crochet. The loop that was on the left becomes the post of the crochet. So if might be able to see it as I work through again. So I'm going to insert the hook under the next 2. I'm going to ring up, and so this one is going to become the post. This is going to become the top. As I yarn over and pull through, you see how it kind of lays down. The one on the right starts to lay down, that becomes the top. And I'm just going to work all the way across in the same manner. So in every single crochet that I had at the bottom, I'm going to single crochet in that again. Alright, single crochet in this one, single crochet in this one, okay, I've gotten to the end. If I've done it correctly, I should still have 10 single crochets. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I have the correct number of stitches. So I have done a single crochet in every single crochet underneath. And you're going to continue in the same manner as the second row. So I'm going to chain 1, again that adds the height, and then I'm going to turn. So I'm just basically flipping my work over. Okay, so again, so if I'm at the end of the row, I've already done my chain, and now I'm just going to turn it over to the other side. So now what we have is you have your chain at the beginning, and you start and you do the same thing again. Okay, do not confuse your chain 1 as a stitch. You're not going to go back into that chain that you created. That's not a stitch. The first stitch is this one right here. Alright, this is what over here was just your chain. That adds the height. Okay, and then this is your first single. We're going to do like we did before, and just single crochet all the way across. So I'm going under 2 loops, yarning over, pull through. I have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2. My next stitch is this right here. We have those 2 loops, that V, and so I'm going to put my hook underneath those, yarn over, pull through. I have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through, and all the way across, just like before. This is the same thing. This is just practice. Now what you can do, if you have the right kind of yarn, you can make it the size that you want it, and you can just do single crochets all the way across, and your practice can become something useful. You can make a pot holder out of it, for example, or a little dish towel. Or if you have acrylic yarn or something like that can't be used for the kitchen, perhaps you make yourself a scarf. And that will be great practice for you to do your single crochet stitches. And once you get done, you just keep going and going and going, and until you want to stop, whenever the project is done. Or you can do a little bit, rip it out, and start over again until you get really good. And then once you are good with single crochet, there are lots of other stitches that we can learn. We have our half double crochet, trebles, and a few others that are basic, that once you have those down, you can pretty much do any pattern. So I look forward to seeing you guys on the next meeting, and where we can learn a little bit more together. Bye.